The first snow of the season is on the way for many areas across the eastern U.S., along with cold Arctic air to follow. The first thing we'll speak on is that snow part, and we'll work our way west to east. There'll be timestamps up. For example, if you don't want to hear about Wisconsin or Michigan, you can skip that timestamp and head to the timestamp that includes your specific state. So after that, we will speak on that cold air part. Many areas will experience their first freeze and even hard freeze of the fall. After that, we'll go over today's severe weather threat across areas of the Mid-South, and then we'll wrap the video up. If you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Hope you guys are feeling well. It's Friday morning. I imagine most of us are. I know I am. So let's get going though. So we're going to start off once again by looking at this big blob of blue and green. I know a lot of people immediately think if this big area of blue and green is over my specific state, we're going to get snow. Well, that's not what it means. This is just a big trough, a big area of lower pressure. And with this, it normally brings cold air, strong cold front. In this case, it absolutely will, to bring cold Arctic air down from the north over the next, for about a couple days or so. It'll be a potent shot of Arctic air. And there's normally energy associated with it. Now, is it going to create a significant storm system with a ton of moisture, or is it just going to be a little bit of moisture, or is it going to be something in between? That's what we're still trying to figure out. But I can tell you this is most likely not going to bring a major storm system. But with cold air around, with some energy around, we're going to get some snow flying around, and even for areas of the south. So let's go on and move past this. Let's break it down, like I said, west to east. So we'll start off by looking at the north central U.S., the Dakotas, and areas of Minnesota and Iowa. So we're looking at the latest O6Z European model. So this is the newest fresh data that we have. And we'll start off this evening, and we'll work our way into tomorrow morning. You got an area, and the blue stands for snow, the green for rain. If you see any kind of pink or orange, that's kind of a wintry mix. So the blue breaking out, we got some snow, light snow breaking out across areas of North Dakota, a little bit into, say, northeast South Dakota, and then we continue to make our way into tomorrow evening. A little bit of leftover moisture. Now listen, I will say there is some disagreement with short-range model guides like the HRRR model and, say, this global model, the Euro, with sort of like northern Iowa. The HRRR model wants to break out heavy snow. The Euro says it's too warm and keeps it mainly rain. So there is a battle here in northern Iowa, and I would say southern areas of Minnesota. But as we are working our way deeper into the weekend, we're getting into Sunday morning, I think we do have some leftover snow showers, snow flurries drifting around across this entire area of the north central U.S. And, the thing about Arctic air is it's very shallow. So a lot of times, models don't pick up on what ends up occurring, which is some light snow flurries, things like that. Even the radar in real time has a hard time picking up on this. So my bet is Sunday morning we wake up to some scattered snow flurries and snow showers across this entire area, even though it's not really reflecting much. So, the National Weather Service forecast with this shows just a thin area of snowfall. And I would say the National Weather Service kind of blending, short-range model guidance with global model guidance, especially with what it's showing in southern areas of Minnesota. Some areas in the blue could get over an inch, and an inch or two is possible in areas of North Dakota, but not a big event at all. Just kind of a taste of winter, if you will. Now, let's go on and switch it to areas of the upper Midwest, and we'll include, the states you see now. Down here in Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, we'll have a separate kind of timestamp for that, but this is mainly for Wisconsin and Michigan and areas of surrounding states. So we'll start off for Saturday morning. Not a whole lot going on. Some cold air working in. Here comes sort of what we call a short wave, or a weak low pressure that fires off this trough digging down. And on this specific model run, this is mainly a cold rain in northern areas of Illinois and even southern Wisconsin. We keep this working in, and as cold air is kind of working into the northern portion of this moisture shield, we could get a period of heavy wet snow into lower Michigan. This is kind of path one to get accumulating snow, or kind of the first wave, or I'm trying to find the right word for this, but the first chance to get accumulating snow. That's the word I'm looking for. Come on, Mitch, get it together. here in areas of Michigan. Is kind of this short wave that moves in. And this could deliver a period as we're getting into late tomorrow night and a Sunday morning of accumulating snow, potentially for lower Michigan. And then you can see energy diving down, embedded into this cold trough. And we got lake effect snow firing off. The lighter blue is lighter snow. The darker blue is heavier snow. And certainly some erratic looking lake effect snow bands with this deep trough digging down. And we're just going to get some cold snow flurries, Arctic snow. Really just some snow falling, some pretty chilly temperatures for November standards across Wisconsin. This could add up to some light dusting, something like that. And, the darker blues, heavier snow. And then we start to get into Monday morning, and we could get a pretty gnarly lake effect snow band that sets up for a time period across Chicago. It's not as common to get kind of the northeast, kind of west southwest oriented snow bands that affect areas of Chicago, but it really likes the idea of this. So Chicago Monday morning could be a snowy commute. We'll have to watch out for that. And then we continue, and then the entire snow bands begin to shift as the trough shifts to favor more so areas like southwest, the lower Michigan, and northern Indiana. And we could have another little clipper that swings down Tuesday, but the cold air is starting to leave. So how much snow could we expect in these areas? Well, we're going to have to look at some global models here, and let's make sure we have all the data. Yes, so this goes all the way out to about Wednesday. So this is just a global model. And listen, so some people's wondering, well, what about those National Weather Service graphics? We're just not completely in range of the entirety of the storm, and I want to wait to do that. And it took a while to get this video going because I kept going back and forth. So we're just going to stick with the Euro, but this is what the 06Z latest Euro is showing. Wants to dump 2 inches of snow on Madison. Wants to put 3 inches of snow in Milwaukee. I wouldn't bet on that at all. But we'll see, depending on how this band fires off Lake Michigan. Green Bay wants to go for 1 inch. Ironwood, about 6 inches. Eau Claire, about 1 inch. So I do think we're going to get some light snowfall accumulations across this area. We do have like Minneapolis on this map too, 0.3 of an inch. But we do have a graphic for my friends and family up here in the UP of Michigan. Now, this only goes out to 7 a.m. Monday. It could still be snowing in some of these areas, but Ironwood going for 3 to 9, which pretty much matches with what the Euro is showing. But, some of these town names, as you guys know, I butcher a lot with trying to, sound out, pronounce here. But this is your graphic. Freeze the screen if you need to. But this is going to be really your first accumulating snow of the season. It's going to be a pretty decent one. Marquette, 3 to 8 inches. So, but going down into lower Michigan, we're not in range. I tried to pull up some graphics, and they're only extending it out to like Sunday evening, Monday morning. Traverse City, 2 to 3 inches. Grand Rapids, 2 to 3 inches. Detroit, this specific run, going for 1 to 2 inches of snow. It's going to be tough in extreme southeast Michigan to get snow, but we'll see. But, there's a combination between kind of lake-enhanced energy and this first short wave in southern lower Michigan. But so a few inches of wet snow is possible. Kalamazoo, 4. So we'll see what happens. Okay. Now, let's continue to go forward. And we're going to include more Chicago into this, and Indiana and Ohio. And then we'll drop it down further south. So this is for Saturday morning. We'll keep this going. We are starting to get into, say, Sunday morning. And most of this area is just too warm for any kind of snow. We've already talked about lower Michigan. Could we get a little bit of snow from this first short wave in northern Indiana, northern Ohio? I think it's possible, but I think it'll mainly stay rain for the majority of this area I'm covering. And then the cold air works in, and then this is when we have the energy associated with the trough. It really digs down, fires up some lake-enhanced stuff. And this is Sunday evening, so any kind of light moisture could begin to switch to light snow as far south as Indianapolis. And then we keep going, and this is like kind of the wee hours of the morning, Monday morning. And look at the snow flying around across the Ohio Valley, areas of the Midwest. We got this banding feature setting up for Chicago, and just some snow drifting around for Indianapolis. Even down to Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky, Columbus. Trying to think as many names as possible. Just many areas here are seeing some snow flurries flying around. Then we take it to Monday morning, and it's just a very festive start to our work week Monday morning, November the 10th. Check this out. We got snow flying around everywhere at this point. Plenty cold enough for this to be snow. So anywhere from Chicago, Indianapolis, down to Evansville. Columbus, Cleveland could be experiencing some snow flying around and some burst of heavy snow embedded in this too. And watching out for a banding feature Monday somewhere through Indiana and Ohio. We got to figure out where that's going to set up, but this swings all the way down to West Virginia, areas of northern Kentucky, and then we're just going to see if we can get some sort of lake effect snow band into Monday night into Tuesday morning that might, refire up and affect northern areas of Indiana and southern areas of lower Michigan, and then it tapers off. So how much snow for these areas? Well, once again, we have to just look at the Euro. Chicago, though, I mean, this is going to be a tricky setup. It's going to be a tough one to forecast, but I'm telling you, a lot of model guidance is adamant on accumulating snow for Chicago in the area, but Kankakee probably did not say that right. 2 inches, but even Champaign, they're down to a half an inch. Peoria, half an inch. It's going to be a tight cutoff due to the orientation of this trough. But, Indianapolis going for an inch. Fort Wayne, 4 to 5 inches. South Bend, 5-6 inches of snow. So it'll be wild to see how this plays out. And we got to extend this a little bit further, but Lafayette, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Louisville, 7/10 of an inch of snow. Evansville, 6/10 of an inch of snow. I wouldn't call this a forecast, guys. We're still kind of, I know we're so close, but we're still kind of in that range where we're just looking at model guidance until the National Weather Service really issues the forecast for the entirety of the event. This is kind of the only thing we can look at here, and I think we'll get into that range over the next 24 hours. But looking a little bit further to the east, check out Ohio. Listen, Ohio is going to be a tough state. It's very gappy, meaning you got some areas like in Mansfield, it only shows a half an inch, and you go down to Columbus, it's 1 to 2 inches. It almost dumped 5 to 6 inches of snow on Dayton, Ohio. Cincinnati, an inch. Cleveland, 3 inches. Please do not think we're going to get a half a foot of snow in Dayton. Do not tell everybody that. Once again, don't tell your brothers, uncles, cousins, pet kangaroo that it's going to snow 6 inches in Dayton. But there is going to be some sort of banding feature that sets up through the Ohio Valley. I think there is, and it's really going to push snowfall accumulations a little bit higher than probably what's going to end up being forecasted by your local people. It's just trying to figure out where that's going to happen. But dipping it down to the rest of Kentucky, Tennessee, and my people down here that are probably tuning in, this is going to be an area to watch. Of course, the further south you get for any time of the year, the more uncommon and rare snow gets. So we start to get into Sunday morning. Cold front still working in. Cold front begins to work in. We're getting into late Sunday night. It already begins to switch. Some moisture associated with this boundary begins to switch to some snow in the Smokies, higher elevations of just the southern and central Alps. Highlands starting to mix with some snow. And even this green right here starts to switch to blue, which is snow. We take into Monday morning, it's starting to snow pretty good. Solid northwest flow event setting up for early November standards. Smokies is snowing. Favored areas, it is snowing the valleys. Of course, it's always more tough for this lake effect, this northwest flow stuff to really work out. But this is kind of the first batch of energy, and then the second batch kind of swings down later into Monday. And then this is when it can get downright fascinating. We could get, I think, some light snow dropping all the way down to Nashville, even Huntsville, all the way down to northeast Alabama, the higher terrain, higher mountain tops of northern Georgia. And you see that 540 line diving down, a lot of cold air aloft working in. And look at the snow across almost the entirety of Kentucky, southwest Virginia. Starts to snow pretty good into West Virginia. I think a few to maybe several inches of snow could add up there. And we're still just dealing with snow in the Cumberland Plateau, even the Valley, Tennessee Valley. And Gatlinburg could get some snow, Knoxville some snow flurries. And it is even trying to get some energy slipping east of the mountains. And I think it's possible. For example, showing some flurries, all the way down here in almost Anderson, So it's just something we got to watch. And does show some snows trying to break containment into areas of Virginia. And we just got to see if that's going to happen. Lingering snow into Tuesday morning across the mountains of just about everybody in the central to southern Alps. A little bit of snow trying to break loose. Take a closer look at this. Look, this is an interesting little setup here. Trying to get some snow into Richmond, up to the D.C. area, the Tidewater. Trying to show a little bit of snow in this area. It's trying. So how much snow? Well, like I said, this isn't a forecast. This is one model output, but just dusting to a half an inch. If this is what actually happens in Kentucky, this is enough to make the ground white. So, if you're looking at this, it's like, well, these totals stink. I mean, for early November, I mean, this is working, right? But it does show a little boost in the Cumberland Plateau. Just has the weather of its own, a little boost in elevation. But you see these blue areas where over an inch of snow could fall, showing 3/10 of an inch of snow in Nashville. I don't know about that. I think you guys are just a little bit too far west. But you see this, the snow up into the Smokies. The Smokies right here. We'll take a closer look at that area here in a second, and just give me 1 minute here. And I do want to show, northern Alabama. I always joke around saying northern Alabama is like Montana because it has a climate of its own up here. But shows, a little bit of love into this area. And then, shows a little bit of snow in the northern Georgia, some dusting amounts. But if you check out what we're seeing here in western North Carolina, I mean, look at this. I think we could get a few to maybe even several inches of snow in the Smokies. How much of these, banding features from northwest flow kind of break loose off the higher tops of the Smokies, things like that, slip into like Waynesville, Maggie Valley, Asheville's always more tough area for like northwest flow. It's always a question. Roan Mountain's always a favorite area in Boone, Banner, Elk. But if you live in these favorite areas, the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee, you already know how you normally do with northwest flow events. It's a tough one to forecast for sure. And then you look up into Charleston, going for an inch, 2 inches of snow. Not sure if that's going to happen. Charleston's always a tough area. Eastern Tennessee, Johnson City, 6/10 of an inch of snow. The Valley region's going to be tough. We'll have to see. Eastern areas of Kentucky, definitely some dusting amounts, couple inches, depending on where you live. And then, West Virginia, these pink areas, guys, I mean, that's potentially over 6 inches of snow. Not sure if we're going to get this much, but this is a wild area right here, breaking loose east of the Alps here in Virginia and Maryland. It has these little splotchy areas trying to dump a few inches of snow into like southern Maryland, Delaware. Could we get a little bit of ocean effect snow in these areas? I wouldn't completely rule it out for a time period. But trying to dump 1.5 inches of snow in Richmond, please don't tell everybody it's going to snow 1 inch of snow in Richmond. But I could easily see some snow sort of breaking containment even across northern North Carolina and Virginia. And then just a closer look at West Virginia. Certainly going to get the potential for some snow up into the Allegheny Mountains and the highlands of West Virginia and just the favorite areas for sure. So even western Maryland, if you live in these areas, some accumulating snow is possible to likely. And then we head on up here to the northeast. What's going to happen? Here's the evolution of this as we start to make our way into Sunday morning. First low kind of moves in just cold enough in the Adirondacks, Tuck Hill Plateau for this to start out snow. Could mix, as you can see the pink and the orange showing up there. And then as this continues to move north, I think everybody begins to switch to some rain, and then cold air kind of moves in, and it could catch up with the moisture here. So as we're getting to Monday night, could switch back to snow in northern areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, and then a period of lake effect snow could get going, could blast the Tug Hill Plateau, areas of Buffalo, even Rochester could get some snow. Erie should get some accumulating snow from this Tuesday morning. And, the Northeast is interesting as we get into late next week. We continue to get troughing. We could get more of an extended period of lake effect snow even after this blast of Arctic air. As you can tell, just a continuous feed of kind of moisture moves through this area. So it's a little bit extended further out for the Northeast, a little bit more tough to figure out. But, looking at PA between now and the entirety of the majority of this event we're talking about, Erie is wanting to show 7 inches of snow. Not sure if that's going to happen. A little bit of a favorite area as we're getting into southwest PA with these higher elevated regions. Wants to dump 1/2 inch to 1 inch in Pittsburgh. Not sure about that, but we'll see. And remember, we're just not in range of the National Weather Service forecast yet, but definitely favors kind of western PA. And then we look up here into New York. Check this out. This is between now and 1 a.m. Thursday. Tug Hill Plateau gets crushed with over 1 foot of snow between multiple kind of areas of energy associated with all this stuff coming in. But it really wants to show love to a good chunk of interior New York State. It's a lot of snow. Syracuse, just south of a very heavy lake effect snow banding feature. And then we go up here to the rest of New England. And this is what we're looking at here. So pause the screen if you need to. Pretty big snowstorm is possible up in Quebec and Ontario from this. And if we're looking at temperatures, it's going to get cold, guys. These are high temperatures tomorrow. Look, big temperature boundary across the central U.S. These are high temperatures. This is Sunday, sub-freezing high temperatures for areas of the upper Midwest. And then this is Monday. Things begin to moderate very fast. And then Tuesday, temperatures rebound immediately. And then we look at low temperatures for these areas. And this is tomorrow morning, chilly Arctic air up here. And then now they're going for single digits up here in North Dakota, sub 10 degrees. So very cold temperatures. Kind of the orientation of this trough has shifted a little bit to the west. So this has allowed for some Arctic air to spill just a little bit more to the west. But these are low temperatures. And then this is Monday. Man, first hard freeze of the season setting up for the central U.S. And then things moderate very fast and it thaws out. And we're back to kind of some normal to above average temperatures. Temperatures across the eastern U.S. Look how warm it's going to be tomorrow. A very warm day. Even for Sunday across the southeast, very warm day. Here comes that cold front. Boom. For example, in Columbia, it's probably going to hit 80 degrees Sunday. And then there's an outside chance that Monday highs won't even get out the 40s. These are high temperatures. Could only get into the upper 30s in places like northern Alabama for Monday. So no wonder why you're going to get some flurries flying around. And these are high temperatures for Tuesday. Things begin to bounce back very fast. And then these are low temperatures. This is Saturday morning. This is Sunday morning. And then this is Monday morning. Look at this hard freeze setting up all the way down to the deep south. And then this is Tuesday morning. Man, very cold conditions. Freeze all the way down into northern Florida. And then things begin to definitely warm back up. So as far as today's weather, guys, I don't really have an entire forecast for today because it took so long to get my video up. But I will talk about the severe weather threat today. There is a marginal risk that stretches all the way from Charleston, West Virginia, all the way down to Dothan and Columbus down here in Montgomery, Alabama. There is a slight risk that includes Nashville up through Bowling Green, all the way down to like Lawrenceburg. And let's see what the tornado threat is at a 2% risk. So there's an outside chance that some areas could see a tornado and then a little bit of snow 48 to 72 hours later. But a 2% risk of a tornado in this area today. The wind threat is at a 5%. But it's actually really hail-driven today. Nashville, there's a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter within 25 miles in a given location. Just watch out for some severe weather in this area today. And this is what the HRRR model could look like. As we're getting into 12 p.m., this is 1 p.m. You got some thunderstorms near Clarksville, Bowling Green, Nashville. And then just some widespread, very slow-moving thunderstorms sweeping across this area. This is what the radar could look like around 5 p.m. So if you got any going out in the town in Nashville this evening for Friday night activities, definitely could experience some storms slamming eastern Kentucky all the way up to Huntingville, West Virginia. And then we get into 8 p.m. Some of these storms could eventually make it into eastern Tennessee, Knoxville later this evening, Johnsonville, Chattanooga. And then we drop it down into Alabama and Mississippi. Some storms are possible down here too. Actually show some strong to severe storms down here near Monroeville around 6 p.m. But definitely not as widespread in nature. But, it's around midnight tonight. Some thunderstorms possible north of Birmingham. Things like that. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Feels like that video was a lot longer than 23 minutes. But anyways, y'all have a wonderful day. Appreciate y'all. And we'll continue to try to figure out this snow and cold. God bless.